Rebellion. Jake Matthews, Brandon Sawisky, River Yusuf, Eric Wild. Daniel Shays was born in 1747 in Hopkinton, Massachusetts. After the outbreak of the American Revolution, Daniel Shays responded to the call of arms at Lexington and served 11 days in the battle. Shays served as a second lieutenant in a Massachusetts regiment from May to December of 1775. He became captain in the 5th Massachusetts Regiment in January of 1777. He took part in the Battle of Bunker Hill and engaged in the expedition in Ticonderoga. Daniel Shays also was involved in the storming of Stony Point and fought in the Battle of Saratoga. Shays was wounded in the war and he resigned from the army where he settled in Pelham, Massachusetts. Daniel Shays was not paid for his service in the Revolution, and upon returning home, he was summoned to court for unpaid debts like many of his fellow farmers. Debt-ridden farmers, struck by the economic depression that followed the American Revolution, petitioned the state senate to issue more paper money and to halt foreclosure of mortgages on their property and their own imprisonment for debt as a result of high land taxes. Clashes between New England farmers and merchants that tested the precarious institutions of the new republic threatened to plunge the United States into a civil war. Resentment of the taxes increased to the point that the farmers began to break up court sessions to prevent judges from ruling that specific farms should be sold to pay tax bills. When the state senate failed to undertake reform, armed insurgents in the Berkshire Hills and the Connecticut Valley, under the leadership of Daniel Shays and others, began forcibly to prevent the county courts from sitting to make judgments for debt. These minor acts of rebellion turned violent in January of 1787, when Daniel Shays, a farmer and Revolutionary War veteran, led 1,200 people into Springfield to seize weapons from a national government arsenal. Massachusetts state military troops quickly put down the rebellion, but the event shocked the nation at the time. The poorly armed rebels were driven off by the militia and were pursued by a large force under General Benjamin Lincoln. Lincoln's march marked the end of large-scale organized resistance. Ringleaders who eluded capture fled to neighboring states, and pockets of local resistance continued. The rebellion left its mark. Reforms in line with Shays' demands were enacted after the next election turned his opponents out of office, but of larger significance, he put into sharp relief the crisis of government posed by the Articles of Confederation. To discontented farmers, the government seemed unresponsive to the will of the people. To merchants and creditors, the government seemed vulnerable to anarchy. Shays' rebellion crystallized these issues precisely at the time when the states were choosing delegates to attend the convention that was to draft the Constitution of the United States. Significantly, the social tensions of Shays' rebellion were reflected in the ratification votes of the states most affected by the insurrection. By January 1788, 5 states had ratified the new Constitution, with Connecticut being the first in New England to do so. But in Massachusetts, many opponents of ratification were former Shays rebels. After a considerable struggle, the vote was 187 in favor, 168 opposed. Massachusetts became the 6th state to ratify the Constitution by a margin of 19 votes. Most of Lincoln's army melted away in late February 1787. As enlistments expired, by the end of the month he commanded only 30 men at a base in Pittsfield. Shays' rebellion kindled the people's desire to form stronger national government which could enforce law, keep order, and solve the problems facing the developing United States. Also, Shays' rebellion exploited the Articles of Confederation and showed its glaring weaknesses to the nation. That included, there was no national army or navy, Congress didn't have the power to tax or enforce laws, each state could issue its own paper money and put tariffs on trade between states. There was also no system of national courts.